Myth Meets Reality, a comprehensive overview of the last queen, Cleopatra, the seventh Philopator, 69 BCE, 30 BCE, is one of the most fascinating and controversial figures in history, often viewed through the romanticized lens of plays, films, and literature. She has been perpetually associated with the image of a seductress who used her beauty to manipulate the most powerful men in Rome. However, modern scholars portray her as a genius ruler, a sharp politician, a brilliant diplomat, and an excellent economist who fought tirelessly to defend the last remnants of Egyptian independence. This essay will analyze Cleopatra not only in her role as the lover of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, but as the final ruler of the 300-year-old Ptolemaic dynasty, exploring how she utilized both power and intellect to shape Mediterranean history, and why her legacy remains a powerful presence in popular culture today. To truly grasp the weight of Cleopatra's choices in tragedy, one must delve into the chaotic context she inherited, the extraordinary intellect she possessed, and the high-risk political strategies she pursued. The truth behind the seductive Queen Cleopatra's image was distorted by Roman propaganda, even during her lifetime. Octavian, later Augustus, deliberately constructed her image as a femme fatale, a decadent Eastern queen who corrupted the noble Mark Antony. The political goal of this narrative was to transform the Roman Civil War into a righteous war between Rome and a foreign enemy, rather than an internal power struggle. This distortion was reinforced by Roman historians like Plutarch and Cassius Dio, who wrote under the shadow of Roman triumph. Consequently, Cleopatra's image in Western history became a symbol of fatal charm, often obscuring her true intellect and power. Regarding beauty, archaeological evidence, particularly coins from the period, suggests Cleopatra was not a conventional beauty by modern standards. She possessed a large nose and a strong chin, characteristic features of the Macedonian Ptolemaic dynasty. Her power lay in her charisma, intelligence, and extraordinary communication skills. She was famous for her sweet and captivating voice, according to Plutarch, and her ability to switch seamlessly between languages and cultural styles. Regarding power, Cleopatra was not a passive mistress. She was the absolute ruler of what was then the wealthiest kingdom in the world. Her relationships with Caesar and Antony were political treaties built on mutual benefit. Egypt provided finance and grain, while Rome offered protection and recognition of sovereignty. She used Egypt's economic might as her primary negotiating chip, an extremely bold strategy in the context of Rome's Mediterranean takeover. Alexandria, the heart of the ancient world. To understand Cleopatra's significance, one must look at the status of Alexandria. This city, founded by Alexander the Great, was not only the capital of Egypt, but also the most important center of commerce, culture, and knowledge in the ancient world. The granary of Rome. Egypt was the primary grain source for the Mediterranean. Controlling the flow of grain from the Nile was key to maintaining social and political stability in Rome. Anyone who controlled Alexandria could indirectly strangle Rome. The independence of Egypt, maintained by Cleopatra, was a double-edged sword. It granted diplomatic power, but was also the reason Rome could not leave it alone. A center of knowledge, the Library of Alexandria and the Mouseion Research Center gathered the greatest scholars. Cleopatra, raised in this environment, was exceptionally well-educated, intellectual brilliance and diplomatic skill. Cleopatra is the only recorded member of the Ptolemaic dynasty in 300 years who could speak Egyptian. This is not just an interesting detail, it is proof of her diplomatic and educational genius. Diverse linguistic ability, she was fluent in Egyptian, Greek, the Ptolemaic mother tongue, Latin, Aramaic, Hebrew, and the dialects of the Parthians and Ethiopians. This allowed her to negotiate directly with envoys, rulers, and Roman officials without an interpreter. Comprehensive education. She was raised in the environment of the Library of Alexandria, absorbing knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, philosophy, and rhetoric. She is thought to have written books on weights, measures, and even cosmetics. This knowledge was not mere decoration. It provided her with the ability to manage the complex finances of a wealthy kingdom. Currency and economy. Under her reign, Egyptian currency was one of the most stable in the Mediterranean, the foundation of instability. When Cleopatra ascended the throne, The Ptolemaic dynasty was ravaged by incest, corruption, and fratricidal warfare. Her father, Ptolemy XII Auletes, was exiled and only regained the throne thanks to the costly and violent intervention of Rome. Fraternal marriages. Cleopatra had to marry and co-rule with her younger brothers, a source of court instability. Survival instincts. Her actions toward her siblings were necessary survival moves to consolidate power and prevent Roman interference. Independence, not conquest. Cleopatra's singular and consistent goal was to protect Egypt's sovereignty. Her strategy was playing the Roman game. Alliances with the strongest Roman figure, Caesar, then Antony, to ensure military protection. Creating a hybrid dynasty. The birth of Caesarion created a succession that could legitimize her rule before Rome. Resurrection of Egyptian culture. Styling herself as the goddess Isis built loyalty from the indigenous Egyptian population. Historical context. The decline of the Ptolemaic dynasty. When Cleopatra ascended the throne in 51 BCE, the Ptolemaic dynasty was in severe decline. The kingdom had lost most of its former vast territories and was almost entirely dependent on the rising Roman Republic. She faced famine, political instability, and the risk of Roman annexation. Unlike her predecessors, Cleopatra is the only recorded member of the Ptolemaic dynasty to have been fluent in the Egyptian language. The kingdom's financial structure was weakened by massive debts to Roman creditors. Julius Caesar and the political partnership. Cleopatra's political life changed entirely with the arrival of Julius Caesar in 48 BCE. Unable to enter the palace openly, she was smuggled in, famously rolled up in a rug or canvas sack. The encounter, without a doubt, made an immediate and powerful impression. Caesar quickly took Cleopatra's side, sparking the Alexandrian War. After months of fierce fighting, Caesar restored Cleopatra to the throne. Cleopatra cemented this relationship with a love affair, giving birth to Caesarion, Ptolemy Caesar, in 47 BCE. This relationship held deeper political significance than mere love. During this period, Cleopatra lived in Rome, staying in Caesar's villa, an unprecedented political move that fueled fears among Caesar's opponents that he might declare himself king. Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE ended this partnership, forcing Cleopatra to return quickly to Egypt. Mark Antony and the East-West synthesis. Following Caesar's assassination, Cleopatra needed Mark Antony. Their meeting in Tarsus, 41 BCE, is one of history's most spectacular scenes. Cleopatra arrived on a barge with silver oars and sails of purple silk, styling herself as the goddess Aphrodite. This display was not merely sexual seduction, but a demonstration of the wealth, power, and divine status of a sovereign. Antony used Egypt's resources to finance his military campaigns in the east. In return, he restored many of Egypt's previously lost territories, notably in the donations of Alexandria, 34 BCE. Antony granted Cleopatra and their children vast kingdoms. Octavian, who controlled the West, stole Antony's will and read it aloud before the Senate, turning the impending war into a righteous cause against an Eastern queen. The final war and the collapse. The rivalry culminated in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE. In the decisive battle, Cleopatra led the Egyptian fleet in a breakout to flee to Egypt, followed by Antony. After the defeat, Antony and Cleopatra returned to Alexandria. In August 30 BCE, as Octavian's troops advanced, Antony attempted suicide and died in Cleopatra's arms. A few days later, Cleopatra also decided to end her life, refusing to be extradited to Rome and humiliated in Octavian's triumphal procession. Cultural legacy and indelible image. Cleopatra's death marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the independent Egyptian throne. Her legacy lies in two opposing facets: the master politician who protected Egypt's sovereignty for 21 years, and the symbol of seduction reinforced by Roman propaganda, Shakespeare, and Hollywood. She achieved an eternal victory in the realm of culture and imagination.